have been asked to teach to you what it means to create your day. It seems that that one little teaching has become the rage. Well, it should be. It should have always been the rage. Waking up every single morning is a gift, don't you know? Life is a gift. Create your day? What does that mean? And who's creating it? Did it ever occur to you that oftentimes you give permission for life to do to you what you complain about or overjoyed with at the end of the day? Creating, well, creating is a privilege. It goes along with being a divine person. Divinity gets to create. And that's why you want to know how to do it, because you are a divine entity. So, how would the day be without you? What do you think? How would the day be if you had the knowledge that you knew that what you said mattered? That indeed, it literally was the framework of how reality would compose itself. Now, what would you do if you knew how to do that? Well, so is it work? Well, when was the last time you tried it? How about tomorrow morning? How about instead of just getting up, you got up and you paused and you said, what do I want this day to be like? And indeed, you voiced something. The first thing you say, you know, you never believe. You're just testing it. It's the third thing you say that will be important. And it will be the third thing that will bring about its manifestation in the day. And lo and behold, at the evening, if you're aware of it, you go, oh my goodness, I had a fabulous day. I was really aware that this day was happening because of me. Well, it was. So, do our thoughts matter? Indeed they do. They are the constructs of reality. What is a thought? Yeah. A thought is a frozen moment of a stream of consciousness that the brain processes and puts into a package called a neuron, and then is added to by associative memory. So then you have a thought, and you say, does this thought have meaning and power? It does. Because a thought is actually a structure in which reality is patterned by. It's the architecture of reality, actually. So, when you create your day, you are composing it in thought. And as you observe the thought, it becomes the form in which reality itself molds. So the adventures of the day are really based upon your thinking. Now, there is a lot of evidence in science that would give some credence to this. And you don't have to be a scientist in order to say simple words that are just definitions for procedures in science. But there is a tree of science called quantum physics. Brilliant name. And why should it be important to you? Because it's the one level of mathematical study of the subatomic world that actually includes your opinion. That's why it should matter to you. Well, what does that mean? It means, indeed, that there is an observer, and that observer, which happens to be you, that whatever you observe, that reality becomes accordingly. And in quantum physics, it simply is that whoever is observing the quantum field with whatever expectation, that indeed that field performs that expectation. Fabulous, isn't it? Frustrating to scientists, because this field belongs to everybody. Everyone affects the field. So what is the field? It's small matter. You know, small matter, below atomic level matter. But that is where we have a cause occurring that creates an effect. And the effect is matter being built upon itself, that finally we have a whole picture that within our reality we can actually recognize. So, what did we do? We were an observer. We observed how we wanted a day to happen. In the small world, we are the observer that focused the day into being, into its becoming. Quantum physics is important to you because it's the one science that's on your side about your abilities. And so, is everything we think made manifest? Absolutely. Well, then why don't I know that my thinking is being made absolute? It has every single day. It never occurred to you to create your day. So your day was always whatever you perceived it was going to do to you. Now you're about to do to it. So, what then should you do with this science? Well, you should study more about it. You should learn how important you are within the realm of all matter, and that whatever you think indeed does matter, and that it matters in the way that it affects your life every day. So, why was that catchy little phrase used in What the Bleep? Because students in the school are taught that they are divine people, and that to let life happen to you would be irresponsible. But to create the way life happens to you is indeed a divine right that every student here learns to have. The greatest position we never want to find ourselves in is being a victim of anything. It is all right to be surprised and charmed by the measure which we could create. But it's quite a different story that at the end of the day, that we have regret and hurt feelings, and that somehow we are injured by the day. The last thing we want to become in life is a victim. And in this school, the way that we get on and make life much more beautiful is that we learn that if we take responsibility of how the day is going to happen, then at the end of the day, we are enjoying the results of that experience instead of wailing that we didn't know any better. So it's the act of responsibility. And it is being the observer in quantum mechanics that no matter what you think, it is going to manifest. So why not construct thoughts that would create a day that would bring splendor and beauty and ingeniousness and wellness and joy, or whatever other adventure you would like to have? So the idea in What the Bleep is that we would never allow ourselves to become a victim ever again. Because once we are in the knowledge, then we want to make life happen rather than allowing it to happen to us. So, in learning this about this message, it is quite unique to this school and quite unique to these students. And are there students who don't create their day? Absolutely. There are Christians that don't pray every day, only use what they believe in until they get into trouble. And why would you want to not create your day? Do you not have enough knowledge? Indeed, do you not have enough wonder? Do you not have enough desire to see a day? Or are you afraid that if you start it, it won't happen, and then you won't believe in yourself yet again? I say to you, give it a try. Now, that's where they learned it, right here. So, do you have to belong to this school to create your day? No. You only have to want to, and it's as simple as that. And what do you want to create? Is there anything too large? Create only those things that are in the realm of your acceptance. Don't create things you can't accept, because then you're not going to be willing to live them when they appear in your life. Got it? Now back to quantum physics. Why should you want to delve in that a little more? Well, for one reason, what do you want to believe in? I mean, there's all these religions, and then, there's the New Age, the Old Age, and then there's your neighbor, and then there's your inheritance. Well, what would you like to believe in? Why wouldn't you want to believe in this? Quantum physics is remarkable in that it's just a science that studies the nature of our remarkability. When you begin to study this, there's a lot of things that come clear to you, For example, you didn't have to wear white to make something wonderful happen. And that you begin to learn that positive and negative are not about good and bad at all. They are about the polarity of the electron. They're about electricity. You can't have a positive charge without having a negative charge. So what is good and bad about that? Pretty soon, you begin to think differently. You begin to understand it in a more rational and indeed more mature way. And then if negative isn't bad, then maybe black isn't evil. And maybe nighttime isn't the time of witches and goblins and all that other trash. That maybe it's just superstition. But does superstition exist in quantum physics? Yes, because whoever believes it actually creates itself. It's an actual reality. But then you can have a person sitting right next to you who doesn't believe in any of that. So it's hogwash. And will any of those things manifest in that person's life? Not one thing. So you begin to also understand something else important. That just how powerful you really are. Maybe you're the one who put God in heaven. Or maybe you created God in your image. The way you think it should be. Because if you keep on believing that way, surely goodness, that's how life's going to treat you every single day. You made a God to punish you, to reward you, and to love you, and to be afraid of you. Every day you did that. And what you begin to understand about that is, maybe the nature of God isn't about an old man with long beard sitting somewhere up there in real estate called heaven and judging you. Maybe you put him there. If you did, you can take him down. That maybe, just maybe, that the greatest gift of life and our day really is contained within us in this magical field that doesn't exist, as something other than ourselves. It is quintessential part and parcel of ourselves. It is us. So pretty soon, you will graduate God from being that mean, old, fearful, dreadful creature to something that's sublime, that is about the state of being. It's about the nature of being. And indeed, it is about your being. There's other things you'll learn too. What about evil? Does evil exist in the world? You've had an awful lot of bad days and a hard run of bad luck. What about that? Well, one experience deserves another. If you have one bad experience that you judge bad, then you're going to think about it all day, and it deserves another one. You're going to get another one. And then that deserves 2 or 3 more. There is such a thing as a run of bad luck. But maybe we're the luck in how we think about it. So then we would start to think about bad, not as something that is a bad thing, but an experience that maybe it took that many days for us to change our mind and to have a different day. And are people bad? Oh, I think you're going to learn that it's all relative. That it's the quantum field working for them, and indeed the quantum field working for you, and you just think that those who don't do what you think they should do, you consider them bad. But that's okay too. But when it's okay, oh my goodness, what do you do with an attitude that it's okay to be bad? Maybe people stop being bad when it's okay. And then there's that other thing, you know, superstition and all. Well, what about all those gods? What about that history? Should history be important to us? Well, you keep repeating it enough, maybe it's trying to tell you something. Maybe you should dream a new life, a different life. How about superstition? Where do we put that? How about the new age? Is there a new age? Maybe it's the old age. You don't want to go out there and start trading your God anytime soon for a bundle of spirits that exist out there in the netherworld just waiting to get you in the closet. You don't want to do that either. And furthermore, then you don't want to start wearing bangles of crystals around your neck. They can be so tiresome. Or eat a lot of garlic, which can ward off more than evil spirits. And you certainly don't want to be a vegetarian or a meat eater or any sort of regime. You'll start thinking about that too, because you'll start to think, well, you know, if I really believe this, my goodness, this is really going to happen to me. This is really going to become a factor. If I really think there's something out there going to get me, it just might. Well, you know, are we empowered by crystals? Well, isn't that relative? How about maybe we made it powerful? And how about a diet? Is a diet good for us? I don't know. What do you think? It's really important what you think, because what you think is the eventual outcome. And how about, well, reincarnation and life after life and all those guides and all those people? There's so much. Well, there are some real gems in this. It's really, really, really wonderful to think about ourselves as an eternal being, because no one has ever figured out yet how to destroy the quantum field. In fact, they've never had a thought big enough to turn in on itself to destroy itself. That's quite impossible. So we can rest assured that we are an eternal being, and that the quantum field, or the kingdom of heaven, or states of being, will continue in spite of our ignorance. And when we know that, then we'll say, well, so what should I believe in? Yourself. And do you have enough to believe in yourself? Every day. And how do we know every day that what you believe in is going to work? You just got to live it to find it out. And what about life? Well, let's go back to reincarnation. Is that something we ought to keep? I think you ought to, because it promises our longevity. And in fact, where we think we've erred, we have a lot of lifetimes to make up for it. But then we come to think of that. Maybe you want to spend the rest of our lifetimes making up for something we could take care of right now. Right now. So I rather like the idea that if we can't destroy the quantum field, then there's something in that that says that we're indestructible as well. Quantum field will always have an observer. And I think we should think of ourselves in those terms and be relative to it. So these are real charms that I think you should keep. All of the other is simply window dressing, and it affords you the frequency of emotions, it affords you blame, it affords you victimization, it affords you the trauma of predictability coming true. But if you want to be free, and you want to love yourself, and you want to look forward to every day, and then every year, and then indeed every decade, and then you can perceive yourself beyond death, it's actually possible. You don't even have to die. Then you would start to create your day. And then you would be unburdened by worship. The greatest worship we can have for God is to live like one. And indeed, the greatest gift we have is not what can God give us, but to celebrate that we're alive every day. It's the greatest gift you have. And that you are afforded imagination, a brain to process it, and a life in which to explore it in. We have no boundaries to our greatness or indeed our goodness. Our worst is behind us. Our greatest discovery is in front of us. So let me tell you something about all of those wannabes. Be yourself. Say, all this ritual I did this morning, it was only necessary to get me to believe something. Well, why don't you dispense with it and just create the day you want? And then according to quantum physics, if you are that observer, you're going to get that day. And if it was the third thing, well, what are you going to do about tomorrow? You're going to be all jazzed about tomorrow. And then when it becomes magical, you'll start seeing your life and your future specific in realms that are truly wonderful, inspiring. You know, you're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be a part of life. We would clearly miss you if you weren't here. You are a part of this concept. Indeed, you make up this time. When you change, you send a shockwave through this time that brings hope to everybody. Now, won't it be nice when people start giving up that mean old God and they start trading in their crystals, they start forgetting about the way things ought to be and start designing them to the best of your ability. Experience is relative to you. It's your life. It's your dream to experience. And won't it be wonderful when you, in your day, and someone says to you, because you have created this shockwave, what is it about you that seems to always be magical and wonderful? And you could look at them and say, do you ever think about creating your day? So you doubt that, do you? No, why would you want to go and do that? Well, what is doubt? And why do you even have it? Doubt is just a word that explains the desire not to participate. And the desire not to participate is because you don't want to be engaged or accept what you hear or see what people ask you to do. Doubt is also an interesting thing in the brain. It's a barrier in the brain. We don't get any more learning in the brain unless it's specific to the personality that you are. So people say that doubt is really healthy for you. It is if you don't want to change your life. And it prevents you from changing or modifying your personality, your lifestyle, your religion, your family, your origins, all of those things. It keeps you intact. And for that, it serves its purpose. But does doubt work in the quantum field too? Of course it does. When you say, I don't believe this, then you will not have the experience of it. You will not be asked to grow. You will not participate in your own growth. If you say, I don't believe this is hogwash, then you get to not believe. Everyone gets to have whatever you deem necessary. So, here would be the choice then. The choice is to wake up. You know, when the moment you wake up, if you ever notice, by the way, that you don't know who you are, and you wake up and you don't know who you are. You notice how you look around the room to orient yourself, and what's really surprising when you see the person next to you? And for that split moment, you don't know who they are? I think you should contemplate that a lot. But in that very moment, we spend the next moments before you ever get out of bed reorienting, rebonding with an identity that for a moment we didn't even have. And the identity is that we start to form it. We take a look at the person next to us, and we get up and we start scratching our bodies and touchy-feely. And then we get up and we go to the latrine, and on the way we look at ourselves. Why do you do that? Why do you stare at yourself? Because you're trying to remember who you are. And then when you go to relieve yourself, you stare at your own urine. And why do you do that? Because you can't believe you're urinating. It's still a mystery. Now, don't be embarrassed. It's a natural part of your body. But if you have to remember who you are and remember the parameters of your acceptance and the fence of your doubt, if you have to go through the ritual every single day to remember who you are, what are the chances that your day is going to turn out unique? Very slim, but you think, very slim indeed. But what if indeed, before you tried to remember who you were, that you remembered what you wanted to be, and maybe that came first? Before you saw your mate, before you clawed yourself, before you staggered out of bed, scared the cat, and saw yourself in the mirror. Before you did all of that, you remembered something. Before I bond to the ritual of my neural net, I am going to create a day that's astounding, that will add to my neural net, that will add to the experience of my life. And you create your day. Create your day. In that moment that you're not yet who you are, is the most sublime moment in which, in that moment, you see the extraordinary. You can expect and accept the unordinary. You can accept a pay raise today. If you become yourself, your expectation of pay raise greatly diminishes. You and I both know that. But in this one state of non-conclusiveness about your identity, you can create anyway. So I tell my students, before you get up and remember who you are, create your day. Then after you create your day, your routine will change. You will be a slightly different person staring at the urinal, looking in the mirror. There'd be something different about you, and that would be a wonderful thing. Now, if you don't believe in any of this, why are you listening to me? So you can form an opinion. You know I'm right. So quietly, when nobody's looking, create your day. But create it in a way that you honestly are going to create it for your own pleasure. And I think you will be immensely pleased by the outcome. And then on the other hand, you can say this is all hogwash. And in that, again, you deserve your day. So, the last thing I want to talk to you about, I would like to bring a point in for you who, in the comfort of your own home, it's just you and I, you know. So the idea then that what you are and who you are is important. You see, I know that you are greater, you and I both know that, than sometimes the life in which you live on a day-to-day basis. You expect more of yourself. I know that, you know that. So the question is, how do you get the more that you want? Wouldn't it be nice, entity, that you knew that God did hear everything you thought, and that indeed everything you thought would matter? All right. So let's just say that it does. What is that going to hurt you to say that? Indeed, what is it going to matter if you improve your life but a little? It's going to matter a great deal. How will you become a greater person unless you start taking advantage of those aspects of yourself that you know you are capable of being? If you keep yourself in check and you're afraid that if you change, then a lot of people are going to suffer. Maybe a lot of people are going to celebrate. So, while you're there by yourself, listening to this, indeed you can say, well, I'm a pretender, I'm a charlatan, I'm all those things. Well, one thing I want you to remember, whatever you think I am, is that I and you both know that there is more to you than you have yet lived. And if you begin to live it, just little, day by day, the only thing you have to do is to see the more of you happen. Just see it, you know? To study and understand the explanation of quantum physics is only to study how it happens and why it happens. You don't have to know that. You just have to see the magic of wanting it to happen. So, you go to a lot of, you go to a lot of extent to insure yourself. You buy life insurance, health insurance, car insurance, daycare insurance, teeth insurance. Oh, that's a dental. I forgot that's a name. A death insurance. Imagine that. Dying. You're going to insure your own death. You have gone to such extremes to ensure that your life stay within bounds of reason, that you have to work hard every single day just to pay your policies. Now, the one insurance you've never taken out is the belief in yourself. And that maybe all these other things don't matter as much as what you think about yourself. So, between you and I, we have this moment together. I would like you indeed to think about what you think about your life. And if you do that, I and you will send you something really wonderful. It'll happen in moments of seeing this film. And it will be a little runner that suggests that the things you've been living every single day is all you thought you were capable of, except in these kind of moments. Then you begin to wonder and you begin to remember. And then when you have this kind of moment, you're just waiting for somebody to encourage you to be great. So, go ahead. Go ahead. Stop thinking that you're more than what you are every day. And little by little, all the evidence will come into that. And what does God have to do with this? Everything. So you want me to talk about people who lose hope? And why should they always be old people who lose hope? Young people lose hope. Children lose hope. Women have been losing hope for ages. I suppose we should ask what it is we're losing. What is the word hope? Hope, what is it? Obviously, we've never had the freedom to live life. Because if we had the freedom to live life, we would understand the science of evolution. That once that you have experienced something, it is all right to own it into wisdom and have a new dream, and indeed a new idea. Instead of simply saying, well, now that you have done that, that's the best you can do for the rest of your life. It does seem rather juvenile, doesn't it? And so, well, if you weren't ever given permission to change, you would lose hope. And indeed, if you were not in a mind, as it were, to think in terms progressive, I suppose you could call not having progressive thought dreadful because you will reach soon the end of your thoughts, your thinking, and then you have to start over again, and that can be a dreadful experience. And boring, to mention that, of course. So, hope. Well, people who are in prison long for freedom, as it were. And indeed, people who are tired of thinking the same thing see no relief from their own mind. It keeps giving them the same thoughts, and their neighborhood gives them the same thoughts, and indeed, society reinforces it. And in older people, we can see because they are reaching the end of their life, and there's so much left undone, and yet not enough life left, not enough vitality left. And then some of them don't want it left, because the very idea of having to live through that again is a dreadful thought. Life shouldn't be like that at all. And young people, why do young people live life in such a canned manner that they lose hope that there's anything new and wonderful, that they have a meaning in this life? So I suppose hope, then, is one of those words that we should learn to define, and that we should understand that once we've defined it, what does that mean for the individual? It means, then, that if it is restrained thinking, that hope would be the permission to think beyond restraint. And that indeed, if it was confinement, and confinement, doesn't have to be to a little room or a small hovel. Indeed, confinement can be to a society, a religion, a creed, a neighborhood. And that if we are to spend the rest of our days confined to a specific territory, it is not in our nature to be obliged to that at all. And that if we find that hope is to live without confinement, then I suppose that we would get about our life getting rid of the confinement and look for it. So, hope? Life is so beautiful. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface of it. That the brain is so immense in its ability to process consciousness. For ages and ages and ages, we haven't even begun to live the sterling moments of humanity, let alone our own life. So, hope, then, well, to find a way out of the menagerie of predictability is when a person begins the journey of releasing oneself from one's confinement or one's restraint in thinking. So what does that? Knowledge. Information, indeed. What do we do with information? We have to know that taking information alone doesn't work. It's what we do with it. That we must ponder it, we must think about it. We must see that information works in our life as possibilities. And what do we do with possibilities? Possibilities start ringing our bell of hope. Is it really possible that I could live outside this confinement? Indeed, that I could really think outside of this quadrant of thinking? Of course it is. But how do we do that? And it is like creating our day. In creating our day, the methodology in doing it is really very simple. First, create a day that you would call at the end hopeful living. Create a day that would bring to you adventures, meetings, and occurrences that would never have existed in your life prior to this. And how do we do that? We create our day by saying simply, today, I will know extraordinary people. Today, I will have an encounter of the unusual. And today, I will know wealth in a way of which I have never known. And all along, I will be so excited about today. I shan't ever feel the illness that I dread every day. And how do we do that? Saying those words slowly and letting them rest in your mind slowly, that you're present with every one of them. And when you finish saying that, you will have been present with your day, and your day will get on about bringing you hope. So, who can do this? Old people, young people, people. If you have a desire to live one more day, if you have a desire to feel that you make a difference, then this is how you begin to make a difference. Say the word slowly. Hold it. Be present with it. And the more present you are with the sentence, the more exciting the energy grows in your body. And the thrill of the day, you can hardly wait now to get up and go through that ritual in the morning, but now in a way in which you're excited. That unusual person, you're going to meet that unusual person. And that marvelous experience, yeah, that's going to happen too. And how about a difference in wealth? Well, of course, it's going to happen too. You're a different person today. Now, was that hope? At the end of the day, you'd be slapping your knee and going, oh my heck, I just had one of the most wonderful days I've had in a long time. And I can't even remember, I can't even recall feeling bad, not one moment. Well, so be that. So be that. So, is there hope in this message? Mm-hmm. Is there hope living in you? Mm-hmm. As long as you want it. As long as you want it. So be it.